So today I am going to share my recipe for salt-free protection blend. So this recipe requires eggshells. So every time I crack an egg, I make sure that I set it to the side and save it until I have a bundle that needs to be washed. So wash it, dry it out, and it doesn't need to be perfect, but you do want to have a good handful of eggshells to fill up a jar. So then we're going to dry them in the oven, about 200 for 30 minutes. You don't want to go any higher than 200 because then the eggshells will become brown and that isn't desired. So once we have our eggs ready, we're going to get ready with our mortar and pestle. So make sure you find a really good jar that you can put your hand in if you wanted to grab a little bit of the eggshells, but also that it has a rubber seal to keep it fresh. We don't want to have any moisture from the environment getting into your eggshells because it will turn them. Okay, so you want to get a good mortar and pestle, something that you're comfortable with and that you are willing to spend a lot of time blending this down. What I do is I start with just enough to fill the bowl and prepare it for smashing. This is a good time to get any kind of aggression you have out or if you just like to smash things. But I will say that one of my favorite things about using eggshells is that it has that vessel aspect to it for the egg. It really does have a lot of creation to it, and so recycling it in a way that as protection is really a powerful thing to do. So for as long as we've recorded magic, eggs have been used in lots of different ways. So spell jars, egg cleansings, which is a really popular thing with various cultures. Always remember that if you have birds somewhere, there's going to be some form of egg magic out there. So there's love spells, protection spells, potions. We can use it in all kinds of divination works. It's really a powerful thing. So a trick that I have to get it started so I don't have like eggshell explosion by beating them down is I go and I get a paper towel and I mash them down. And that way now I have a partially crushed shell blend. And then I'm going to go in and start smashing them. So I want to be gentle to begin with and then work into actually grinding the shells into the powder. If you feel that the shells are still bouncing, go ahead and put the paper towel down again and just beat them down this way, just to prevent it from exploding everywhere, making a big mess. And we want to keep as much eggshell as we possibly can. So now it's starting to get a little more crumbly and we can start to move it in. So one thing that I'm going to do is really start working on the outer in circular motions, of course, and just start working into this eggshell. The neat thing about using eggshells when we're doing outdoor protection spells is that it doubles in multiple ways. So it's extremely rich in calcium and minerals, and so if we are putting it around our home, it can act like a fertilizer, which is much more beneficial than using salt. Because salt is going to kill all of the plants and a lot of times the soil where we put it. Okay, so now I have my final result. It has been 4 hours. I went and sat in the living room and watched a movie and just grinded away. So here is the eggshell. And here is my pot. So I'm going to just go ahead and pour that directly into this clean, dry, sterile pot. Or container, not really a pot, it's a container, and get it all in there. Okay, make sure you don't inhale the dust. It can cause kind of a sneezing environment. Okay, so now I have my shells. I'm going to keep them in here, and I'm going to keep them in my witch's cabinet. So let's take a moment and talk about like eggs and magic as I am preparing my herbs for this spell. So crushed eggshells in witchcraft is generally used for various ways of protection. So the way it is thought is that it forms a symbolic barrier against negative energies. The reason of this is connected to what the eggshell actually does, the purpose of its creation. So it's a protective shell for the young life that is growing inside of it, right? So it's going to protect it from anything going on in the environment once it becomes formed and hard. And it also teaches us that just because there's that extra layer of protection, we always have to make sure that there's security in that protection, right? So if we look at like a chicken egg, the way that it is still delicate even though it's protecting that chick. And so it takes the mother to keep it warm, to keep it protected, and to keep the environment safe. So we as humans can play those roles in our daily lives around our home. That's one of those ways that nature teaches us how to do very mundane things in the most simplistic way just by the essence of what things are. So another thing that a lot of witches will do is they will put eggshell blends, like the one I'm going to make today, in protective satchels or sachets or little bags. It depends on your practice on what they would be called. But these act as a creative shield, promoting a sense of security in your purse, or maybe a little one in your wallet, in your pocket, in your car. Like there's a million different possibilities on how we can use these. So we're going to start with rosemary. And the reason for that is because rosemary is kind of that good foundational neutral herb. It's used in many ways within witchcraft circles, including protections, purification, a lot of healing, a lot of banishments, but it also welcomes like prosperity. And then we're going to add peppermint. So as you've noticed, both of these herbs are very safe for the environment. They're safe for animals. They're really healthy blend together. So in magic, mint is really popular in spells and rituals. However, it's used for cleansing, for concentration, for divination, and for protection mostly. But then it blends well with rosemary because it has the prosperity aspects for success in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And so when we put those two together, we are bringing that focus of family love and family unity and family protection together. So the third herb that I'm going to add is smoked paprika. This is something that ties back into a family tradition of adding this for that extra spice, the extra flavor, the extra passion that is going into this blend. So the family tradition of using paprika in protection spells is that it is meant to protect the family. It's meant to protect relationships between my children. It's going to help relationships with my partner. It helps to deter like curses and jinxes, hexes, by dismantling them. And it really does have this like powerful protection layer because it's working in with the love of family. You'll notice that I'm going three times in each direction because I am undoing things that I don't want and welcoming in things that I do want. When I grind, that is just the way that I have been taught to do it. So now I'm going to add the eggshell. So we've already discussed all of the properties of the eggshell, and this is the replacer of salt. So I know a lot of witches use salt. I was raised to only use salt when I am seeking to create a dead zone where nothing can pass. It's a rather intense thing because when you're in a dead zone, nothing can grow. So I have always learned not to always use salt unless it's an extreme situation. So here is my blend. So we have the rosemary, the paprika, the peppermint, and the eggshell. And it's nicely blended together. And now it is ready for use. So I'm going to put this in little jars like at my windowsill. But mostly I'm going to walk around my home, whispering my own word, bringing that protection around my home. I tend to do this every Monday. It's just the day that I do it. You can do it whatever day you want, of course. But this is kind of my traditional home protection blend. So this is the end result. I have a nice jar that will last me 6 to 8 months of the shells. And I can keep saving my shells and using it for other things, like if I wanted to create any black salt or those other kind of blends that is going to require an extra oomph of protection in it. So hopefully you're having a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and happy witching.